How's it going, everyone? So, it is time for UFC London. Curtis Blaydes versus Tom Aspinall. I'm pretty excited for it. I used to do these videos all the time, and I did them for about 2 years for every UFC card. And then I got a little more busy, so I slowed down. But for about 4 years now, I've been consistently posting pictures to my social media of my predictions for different UFC events. And the main reason is the last 5 UFC cards I felt really, really good. I had over 60% on all of those cards, with a majority of them being closer to 70, 80, and 90%. So I feel really good there. But anyways, I'm going to be doing the main card. And the first fight on the main card, we have Volkan Ozdemir versus Paul Craig. Volkan, he is a decent striker. He looked really good when he came into the UFC, but he's coming off a few losses. And he is someone who kind of reminds me of, at least from the last few fights, he doesn't change up much of his tools very often. So it's a little predictable. Reminds me a little of Sean Strickland in a sense, although I don't think he's as good as Sean Strickland. Where Sean Strickland, it's like you can almost guarantee he is going to keep his guard high, and it's going to be 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, kind of constantly. But with Paul Craig is right now red hot in the UFC. He is, I believe he's on a 4-fight win streak. It could be 5-fight win streak. And what's also very impressive is if you look at two of the hottest people in the light heavyweight division, you have Jamal Hill and you have Ankalaev. And the only losses they have on their record are Paul Craig. Now, Paul Craig, he has a kind of dangerous style in a sense. It's as if every fight I'm watching him, I'm thinking, oh, this is not going to go good. He starts getting hit. He takes big shots. It's kind of normal for him to get knocked down, and then he pulls these submissions kind of out of nowhere. But the reason I'm going to go with Paul Craig on this one is because I feel like he's an intelligent fighter, and I feel like he's been working on the things that he knows he needs to work on. So I think he's been working a lot on his striking, and if he can just kind of get over that little mound of, not almost getting finished every single fight, I think that's going to just take him that much higher. He's going to get that much better. So I'm going to go with Paul Craig on this one. And I'm going to say, again, a submission. And I'm going to say round 3. So round 3 submission. All right. Second fight in the card, we have Molly McCann and Hannah Goldy. Hannah Goldy, she almost didn't get into the UFC originally. And then Dana White needed people for, for more fights, essentially. I mean, it's not like she was bad, so she didn't get into the UFC. But just initially, they didn't think that she was ready. But she's good. She's really good. And her ground game's good. Molly McCann, obviously, coming off that spinning elbow knockout. Some people say knockout of the year so far. I don't agree with that, but I still think it was an awesome knockout. See, the thing with this is they're both really good on the ground. They both have great ground game. Obviously, Molly McCann trains in the UK with Paddy Pimblett. And so I think this fight is going to go to a decision. I think Molly McCann's going to win. And I think the big difference in this fight is the striking of Molly McCann, where Hannah Goldy, she has decent striking, but not quite as good as Molly McCann. And I think after that knockout finish that Molly McCann just had, that she's really going to be kind of confident. And, when good strikers are that confident in their abilities, they become even better strikers. Whereas when they are kind of self-conscious or afraid, bad things tend to happen. So I'm going to go with a decision win for Molly McCann on this one. All right, now we have third fight on the main card, Nikita Krylov. We have Alexander Gustafsson. Alexander Gustafsson, he was one of my original favorite fighters, and he's a legend in the sport. I don't think he has fought since either 2018 or 2019. And Nikita Krylov, he's also, I wouldn't say he's one of my favorite fighters, but he's been in the UFC for a very, very long time. Now, both of these fighters are kind of getting close to that 500 mark as far as their record in the UFC. which is not the best thing, but it's the UFC, top of the world. What are you going to do? Alexander Gustafsson, obviously, he has some big-time wins in the past, but that was a long time ago, and then he's also coming off a few losses. And so, as you know, things can change. And I think with this fight, though, well, an interesting thing I wanted to bring up, Nikita Krylov, like, his fights never really go to decision. It's either he's getting finished or he's finishing someone. And that makes it very interesting. And I will say that this fight might be the biggest gamble on the whole card for me. And because when you have someone who, like Alexander Gustafsson, who was so good for so long, and then you haven't seen him fight in such a long time, it's very difficult to tell what exactly he's been doing. If he's been taking his training seriously, which I do think he has. And so this one, I'm going to kind of go with a gamble there. And what I do know from Alexander Gustafsson is his reach, his striking, and I can never forget about that Glover Teixeira knockout. Pretty sure it was Glover Teixeira, where it's just kind of like uppercut, 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 and then he's going over the top, and then it's just lights out. One of my favorite knockouts, probably. It was just a thing of sweet magic, I suppose. My prediction for this fight is Krylov is going to kind of get in that mindset he always does, where it's kind of like, you know, the round just started, but the mindset is like, okay, it's all or nothing right now, right? I'm getting finished or I'm finishing him. Let's go. I think that's not going to be a good decision for him, and I think Alexander Gustafsson is going to get the knockout win. So I am interested to see how that one plays out. All right, so now we're getting into some exciting fights. So now we have Paddy Pimblett and Jordan Leavitt. There's a lot of hype around this fight. There's a lot of animosity between the two, and they're both very good. You know, Jordan Leavitt is 10-1. Paddy Pimblett's 18-3, and Paddy Pimblett kind of continues to show how good he is, but everyone knows how good he is. And Jordan Leavitt, obviously 10-1, coming off a really good win as well. And this is going to be a very, very interesting fight. You know, so Jordan Leavitt, he doesn't have the best striking. Actually, his striking kind of reminds me of Ben Askren, if that says anything. Where Paddy Pimblett, he has good striking. He has good cardio. They both have good cardio. Paddy is, you know, pretty powerful with his hands, but he also has a lot of different kicks and a lot of knees. He's very unorthodox in certain ways when it comes to his striking. But where this fight gets very, very interesting is the ground. Jordan Leavitt is so good on the ground. He is, he's very good at controlling people. He has, I think, he definitely has one. I'm almost positive he has multiple wins by slamming people. You know, taking them down, and then they go for something, a triangle or something, and he's picking them up, slamming them down. So he's really good at control. Now, where Paddy Pimblett, when he first came into the UFC, everyone was talking about his ground game. And then he, you know, he had the knockout win over, I believe it was Luigi. So, you know, there's still this kind of big treasure chest of things that we have to see from Jordan Leavitt and also Paddy Pimblett. You know, how does Paddy do with someone who is so good on the ground? And then also, just how good is Paddy on the ground when he's facing someone like Jordan Leavitt? But ultimately, I am going to go with Paddy Pimblett in this fight. And I'm not going to pin it down to one way that he wins, but I believe he's either going to win by a decision or he's going to win by a ground and pound TKO. But, you know, when we get to these top three, really any of these fights, really any UFC fight, anyone could win at any time. So we will see. But I'm going to go with Paddy Pimblett. All right, co-main event. We have Chris Curtis, Jack Hermansson. Jack Hermansson is really good. Chris Curtis is really good too. Jack Hermansson is coming off a few losses. You know, I always feel bad for saying I don't feel like people are in their prime. But I think he's a little past his prime. But he still has the potential to kind of summon up that that hunger that he once had. That's another thing you have to factor in. You really never know the mindset of these people. So a lot of times it is just really a guessing game from the outside. And you take all of the tips and things that you know, and essentially do your best and throw out your prediction, right? But when Jack Hermanson, when he fought Sean Strickland, who again, it's like, I would imagine people go into a fight with Sean Strickland knowing exactly what he's going to do. He's not the most versatile, but what he does is very, I wouldn't say simple. He only does a certain amount of things, but he does them really, really well. The 1-2, keeping the high guard, slipping punches, and coming over the top, and just damaging people with the jab, the jab, the jab, and then going with the cross. And it reminds me of, when Khabib was fighting, in a sense. It's like, you would hear every time Khabib's going to fight, like, we know exactly what he's going to do. And then the fight gets over, and people would say, okay, yeah, we know this is going to happen. We know this is going to happen. We've been training for it. We've been training for it. Well, then the fight starts, and it's like, well, they didn't stop it, So it's like, there's certain people where it's like, no matter how much you train for it, they really are that good at what they're doing. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. But Chris Curtis, he's coming off a few really good wins too. I can't think of who he kind of beat. I think it was 2 fights ago. But it was, an up-and-comer, and it was a pretty big win, and he hit him with the left, I believe, and knocked him out. He definitely knocked him out, and he's been on a win streak since then, and he has some power in his hands. Definitely has some power in his hands. So with this one, I am going to go with Chris Curtis, and I'm going to say round 2 knockout, and yeah. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Jack Hermanson wins this one. All right, so now we have the main event. Pretty excited for this one. I've been a big Tom Aspinall fan for a while, but we have Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blaydes. For a while there, I was thinking Curtis Blaydes could potentially be the future champ. And I'm not saying that I don't think that now. Both of these guys are really, really good. And I'd like to think that Curtis Blaydes learned a lot by getting knocked out from Derek Lewis, which was pretty brutal, It was pretty harsh. And, but, I mean, his wrestling is so good. He's lengthy. He's strong. He's big. He's smart. He's really smart. And that's what makes this fight really interesting. Tom Aspinall is very quick. He's a very natural heavyweight. He doesn't have excess muscle, but he's not lacking any muscle. And he's very athletic for that division, right? So, and you would look at, maybe casual fans would look at the heavyweight division and say, like, well, they're all probably athletic. Like, if you define athletic as squatting a bunch of weight, deadlifting a bunch of weight, doing overhead press, benching, all this stuff. But that's not what I mean. Both of these guys are very, very athletic, and you don't see every heavyweight in the UFC be as athletic as they are. And what I mean by that is, could you imagine Derek Lewis lining up as a wide receiver and doing decent? Probably not. I could see both of these guys doing it. Could you see Derek Lewis out there playing soccer and able to keep up at, 260 pounds? I couldn't imagine that. I can see both of these guys doing that. Now, Tom Aspinall, he is crazy good. His father has been a, jiu-jitsu coach and owned a gym his whole life. And this is something that he's kind of been on a mission for his whole life. And I don't know, I think that Tom Aspinall has a little more power in his hands. But where I'll be completely honest is, I think Tom Aspinall has the slight edge because of his kind of instinctive personality. Certain people have it, it's kind of like they're able to, we have that reaction time, right? And some people that are out here, some people that are in here, and that is like, boom, something happens, and that split second can make a huge difference. But I think Tom Aspinall is going to be able to hurt Curtis Blaydes somehow, maybe drop him, and I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall by a ground and pound TKO. Like I said, though, they're both very, very powerful. We saw what Curtis Blaydes did to Dawkins, who's unfortunately one of my favorite fighters from right here in Pennsylvania. But yeah, they're both really dangerous, and anything can happen in this fight. But I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall. Well, we will see tomorrow, or today, I guess, because I'm not going to post this until the day of the fight. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with anything I said or you disagree with anything I said. All right. Have a good one. See ya.